The first step must be, therefore, an enforceable and closely monitored national cessation of hostilities that forms the basis for a lasting peace. Given guns must be silenced as the war continues to pose serious threats to the unity and territorial integrity of Sudan, as well as to the security and stability of the entire region and beyond. The Secretary General and I are convinced that there is a need for a united and coherent international mediation process that harnesses the resources and approaches of all the organizations involved to help the Sudanese to move towards a vision that I hope we can together discuss in appropriate meetings and consultations. In this regard, the Secretary General commends Igad's leaders' continuous efforts to bring an end to this devastating armed conflict and your sustained attempts to start concrete talks towards a cessation of hostilities. I and the various mechanisms under the United Nations, as required, are at the disposal of the region and the parties in these efforts. In closing, let me stress that only the Sudanese can put an end to this war. But we as the international community have and continue and must continue to join efforts to support the Sudanese people towards this noble objective. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Excellency Janna Mamra, the representative of the UN Secretary General. Now I give a floor for representative of European Union. Dr. Anil.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Executive Secretary. Thank you, President Yoweri Museveni, for hosting us here, and of course, the Chair of Igad, Omar Gille, to give us the opening of this meeting. Excellencies, distinguished guests, partners, and friends of Igad. At this critical time, it's essential that you come here together to talk about collective solutions. Right at the outset, I would like to commend really the leadership shown here by Igad and its distribution chair for convening this assembly. As the EU, as a long-standing partner of Igad, we welcome all efforts aimed at dialogue and de-escalation in the Horn of Africa. We express our hope that this assembly will produce concrete paths to strengthen peace, security, and prosperity for the people of this vibrant region. We strongly believe in the importance of regional coordination and leadership in dealing with its proper challenges, and as a regional actor ourselves, we'll continue to support Igad in playing a proactive role. We are finding ourselves today facing a polycrisis, a crisis that is multifaceted, mutually reinforcing, and locking in with global developments. Three acute challenges stand out. First, the war in Sudan. The senseless and devastating war is putting the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Sudan at risk. It makes people of Sudan suffering and losing hope in their own future, and the state is about to collapse. Already today, this war is cause of the worst internal displacement crisis we see worldwide, with over 7 million IDPs in the country. At the same time, widespread hunger is looming large as 19 million children are out of school. The EU welcomes steps taken by several Sudanese stakeholders, as well as by Igad and the African Union, to find ways to resolve the conflict in Sudan. But the key to ending the war lies within the hands of those who are waging it: the Sudan Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces. The guns need to be silenced now and without conditions. We deplore the lack of commitment to agreements made and the missed opportunities to engage in dialogue in good faith by both sides. The time for reason, dialogue, and inclusive politics is now. The people of Sudan deserve peace, and the EU remains steadfast at their side. Second, we want to express our concern of the development between Somalia and Ethiopia, starting with the MOU in January this year. The signature of the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, strained the relations between these two neighbors at a critical juncture for the region and for Somalia. The EU again highlights the importance of Somalia's unity and territorial integrity. We've done so in the first hour, and we stand ready to support Somalia in this endeavor. We stand firm in the belief that positive bilateral cooperation is essential for the region, especially as Somalia is entering a critical year for its security transition. Today represents an opportunity for dialogue and trust building. Third, these two crises have a common connector, the Red Sea. The Red Sea is where regional dynamics have their most visible link to global geopolitics and geopolitical developments. The critical waterway, carrying more than 10% of global cargo and 20% of European trade with Asia, has experienced a profound destabilization. The Houthi militias continue its attack on commercial shippings in a worrying trend. The EU is a long-standing security contributor in the Red Sea, evidenced by our Operation EUNAVFOR Atalanta, which succeed in curbing Somali piracy. Together with our partners in the Igad region, we need to respond to this emerging threat collectively, as it touches our joint interests in a Red Sea which is free, secure, and prosperous. These acute problems of today are risking the region to lose sight of the long-term challenges and opportunities this region holds. This means they keep us from facing the challenges of climate change, socioeconomic grievances, terrorism, while we grapple with the pressing realities that gather us here today. Also, they keep us from harnessing the region's immense potentials, its youth, its resources, its innovations, the potentials of regional economic integration, and to build on its strategic location. On my recent mission to the Horn and the Gulf, I witnessed a strong awareness that collective security requires shared solution. One crisis cannot be dealt with in isolation. This sense of collective security guides us as the European Union's approach to this region and beyond. Only by working together through dialogue and diplomacy can we return to the sense of hope in the Horn of Africa, which was tangible not long ago. Mr. Chair, to conclude, today's summit is an opportunity for dialogue and bridge building. It is upon leaders gathered here to seize that moment. The EU is clear and consistent. We are committed to peace, security, and prosperity, committed to our partnership, to Igad and its member states. We are ready to support mediation, dialogue, and de-escalation efforts across the region and beyond. We are ready to support any efforts aimed at positive regional economic integration. It can be a crucial tool to enhance regional cooperation in the Horn and the wider region. Lastly, the EU has been a consistent supporter of Igad and its task force for the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. Also, we are a long-standing partner to build maritime capacities across the Red Sea region and currently setting up additional maritime security operations. We stand ready to work together closely with our partners on both sides of the Red Sea and face the new challenges together. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Anne. Now I give a floor for Special Envoy of the United States of America.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, heads of state and government of Igad, ministers, colleagues, heads of delegation, all protocols observed. Good afternoon. I bring greetings from President Biden and Secretary Blinken. We thank you again for inviting the United States to address this key group of leaders. Thank you in particular to our host, President Museveni, and also to the Ugandan people for your wonderful hospitality. We know you have a lot going on. Also to President Gele as chair of Igad, and President Ruto for his work leading the Quartet on Sudan. And of course, this all has come together thanks to the work of Dr. Workney and his team for this very important meeting. We very much appreciate our close partnership with Chairman FACI and the African Union as we support your efforts to advance peace and stability on the continent by promoting African solutions to African problems. Last month, on December 9th in Djibouti, Igad met and we discussed how to bring an end to the war in Sudan. And let me reiterate that the United States remains committed to working with Igad, the African Union, and our partners to do just that. Today's meeting also addresses how to lessen tensions following the announcement of a Memorandum of Understanding, an MOU, between Ethiopia and Somaliland. We are troubled by what is reportedly included in this MOU. We join the chorus of voices in the region and internationally, affirming our respect for Somalia's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and political independence, consistent with the UN Charter and the Constitutive Act of the African Union, which Chairperson Faki just referred to as sacrosanct. We also welcome the African Union's Peace and Security Committee communique of yesterday in this regard. As we have repeatedly said, the United States recognizes the Federal Republic of Somalia's sovereignty, its unity, and its territorial integrity, which includes Somaliland. We believe the status of Somaliland is an issue for Somalis, including Somalilanders, to decide. We are particularly concerned that the increase in tensions over the Memorandum of Understanding threatens to disrupt the fight that Somalis, along with Africans and regional and international partners, including the United States, are waging against al-Shabaab. We have already seen troubling indications that al-Shabaab is using the MOU to generate new recruits. It is vital for Ethiopia and Somalia to remain focused on this shared security priority. We urge both sides to avoid precipitous actions, including related to existing Ethiopian force deployments in Somalia, that could create opportunities for al-Shabaab to expand its reach within Somalia and into Ethiopia. The government of Ethiopia has cooperated with the governments in Somalia and Somaliland region for many years, and it is essential that it continues. We believe that amid ongoing security and stability concerns throughout the Horn of Africa, it is critical for governments in the region to maintain working relationships and close dialogue with each other to address shared challenges. The region can ill afford further conflict. The United States also welcomed Igad's efforts today to address the deepening crisis in Sudan. This summit provides another opportunity for us all, Igad, the African Union, and all concerned states, to call on the SAF and RSF to immediately end the fighting, adhere to their obligations under international humanitarian law and respect for human rights, and allow unhindered humanitarian access to meet the emergency needs of civilians. It is time for them to take action consistent with their stated claims that they want to stop the fighting and meet the needs of the Sudanese people. We regret that the SAF and RSF has so far failed to fulfill their commitment at the December 9th Djibouti Igad Summit to an unconditional ceasefire and a face-to-face meeting. It is high time that General Burhan and General Hameti deliver on their word, their promises, their commitments made to Igad and at Jeddah. They will be responsible for the breakup of Sudan if this conflict continues. I must stress that we are deeply concerned about recent RSF offensive in Gezira State and elsewhere, where there have been credible reports of attacks on civilians, including rape and other human rights violations, and looting of humanitarian supplies. We are also concerned by reports of SAF aerial bombings of populated areas in Niala, Khartoum, and Gezira State, resulting in civilian deaths. There is no acceptable military solution to this conflict in Sudan. As the Sudanese people have long demanded, the conflict must end and Sudan's governance must return to civilians. Civilians must decide the future of Sudan, and we welcome efforts, including by Takadum, to form an inclusive and broadly representative pro-democracy front. We urge work to further diversify such a front, including bringing in more representatives from Sudan's various regions, women, and youth. We look forward to continued cooperation with Igad and its leaders, as well as our international partners, in restoring Sudan's democratic transition. Thank you again for the opportunity to participate in today's summit. The United States firmly believes diplomatic engagement is the only way to resolve these challenges, and we appreciate your partnership in advancing peace, prosperity, and stability. The people of the region desire and deserve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Mike. Now I give a floor for representative of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Your Excellency.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فخامة الرئيس إسماعيل عمر جيلة رئيس جمهورية جيبوتي رئيس الدورة الحالية لمنظمة الهيئة الحكومية للتنمية إيجاد. فخامة الرئيس يوري موسيفيني رئيس جمهورية أوغندا. أصحاب الفخامة الحضور الكرام. يسرني بداية أن أتقدم بالشكر الجزيل على الدعوة للمشاركة في هذه القمة التي تبحث قضايا تحظى بأولوية للحفاظ على أمن واستقرار دول المنطقة، وفي هذا الشأن تثمن المملكة جهود منظمة الإيجاد الهادفة إلى تحقيق الاستقرار والتنمية في الإقليم. كما تعبر المملكة عن دعمها الكامل لتعزيز العلاقات مع دول الأعضاء في المنظمة، حيث جاءت القمة السعودية الإفريقية المنعقدة في شهر نوفمبر 2023 لترسخ أسس علاقة المملكة مع الدول الإفريقية ومن بينها الدول الأعضاء في منظمة الإيجاد. لقد أصدرت المملكة بيانا أكدت فيه حرصها البالغ على وحدة جمهورية الصومال الفيدرالية الشقيقة وسيادتها على كامل أراضيها، وشددت في هذا الصدد على ضرورة الالتزام بمبادئ حسن الجوار وتغليب الحكمة وتجنيب المنطقة زيادة التوتر والنزاعات، والعمل على كل ما من شأنه المحافظة على أمن واستقرار المنطقة بما يسهم في تعزيز التعاون والتكامل بين دولها. إن موقف المملكة من الأزمة السودانية هو الحفاظ على وحدة السودان وسلامة أراضيه، والحفاظ على مؤسسات الدولة ومقدرات الشعب السوداني. كما أن المملكة تقدر الشراكة والعمل مع منظمة الإيجاد والاتحاد الإفريقي فيما يخص الوضع الراهن في جمهورية السودان الشقيقة. إن تنفيذ إعلان جدة والالتزام بحماية المدنيين وفقا لمبادئ القانون الدولي الإنساني ومبادئ حقوق الإنسان هو الطريق لحل الأزمة الراهنة في السودان الشقيق. فبعد 9 أشهر يتضح أن الحل العسكري غير ممكن، وترى المملكة أن منبر جدة وما وصل إليه من نتائج حظى بتأييد الشعب السوداني وبتأييد دولي عريض شجع على استئناف محادثات جدة 2 بمشاركة ممثل عن الاتحاد الإفريقي ومنظمة الإيجاد. وبعد مباحثات مكثفة توصل وفدي الطرفي النزاع إلى صيغة توافقية لمسألة نقاط التفتيش من أجل وقف الأعمال العدائية. لذا ترى المملكة أن مشروع وقف الأعمال العدائية بالغ الأهمية، حيث سيسهم في تسريع إجراءات العملية السياسية انطلاقا من ورقة مبادئ الحل الشامل للأزمة السودانية التي يفترض توقيعها مع توقيع مشروع اتفاق وقف الأعمال العدائية. ويجب العمل على رسم مسارات تفضي إلى خفض التوترات الراهنة